Good morning, everybody. Just thought I'd show you some quick shabby roses. I know you've probably seen some of these before, but I just thought I'd like to decorate some of my envelopes that I send some of my stickers out in. I like to send something that's a little bit different and pretty. And I do love painting these shabby roses, and I just thought I would do a couple of envelopes for you just so that you can see how easy it is to do them, and you might have a go at it too. So what I've got here is I've got my palette. This is actually a wet palette, and as you can see it's just really a dishcloth type of cloth. I don't know what you call them, but and I've put some baking paper over it just to pop it into my palette here. The reason I do this, I usually work with a wet palette because I like to keep my paints moist. I use the Jo Sonja brand of gouache paint, and it's just so beautiful to work with, and you can make it look like watercolor paint, or you can use it, it's a type of acrylic, I suppose. But it's very easy to paint with, very quick drying, and but what the palette does is it actually keeps my paint moist so it doesn't dry out on top, because the actual paper over the top of this really wet cloth, and you can use paper towel, just double over paper towel, make it very wet, and put the baking paper over top of it, and it'll keep your paints wet, so they won't be drying out on the top of the paint. You'll have a longer open time with them. And because the baking paper it's like a semi-permeable membrane that keeps the base of the paint underneath moist, so yeah, you've got a long time to be able to paint with them, and it just stops you from wasting paint also. So this is the paint I prefer. I do watercolor and oils as well, but I just really prefer painting with this gouache. It just makes it quick and easy. And the little roses that I'm going to do is just really to decorate my as you can see, my envelope here has got the postcode down the bottom here. I don't particularly like this. For Australians it's fine, but when I send them overseas I don't like to send them with this because there's a longer postcode for most countries. And but anyway, I just thought I'd just paint up a couple of envelopes, see how we go. I could pretty much stuff it up, or I could make a really good look out of it. Easy to paint. Just grab a filbert brush or a flat brush, which is reasonable size, depending on the size painting really. The brush should fit the size of the painting, so you don't want to use a Scott tiny little brush for a large painting, but you don't want to go using too large a brush for a small painting either. I just use this to lay a bit of a base for the petals. And as I said, these are shabby. They are not perfect, and they're not even true to form in nature. They're just something that will look pretty and decorate anything you want them to. I choose this colour here. It's a rose pink, and this is a permanent alizarin, and this is a Payne's grey, and I have an olive green here as well. I usually like to just put a very basic palette of colours, and I can mix and match. And you can see this little puddle here, I've added some water to it just to make it a little bit more transparent, because they're quite an opaque paint. Okay, so firing away, let's just make a mark on the page. Now, it doesn't matter if you muck it up, you can just go over it. I'm all for doing this. You can see I've just given no particular style of stroke. It's just a bit of a flat stroke. I'm just interested to see how this comes out on the postcode. I hope it comes out well. If it doesn't, well, we'll just try another one. So there's no real mistakes in painting, because art is in the eye of the beholder. You can see that I'm just touching just very gently with the tip of the brush here, just to create a little bit of form in the center. I'll just go back into my paint and put a little bit deeper paint on it, and just sort of go around. You know how roses look, so just muck around with it until you think it looks like a rose. Can leave a little bit of white if you like. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Now I'm going to change brushes just for a minute, and I will pick up a round brush. I'm not sure what the size of this one is. I think it's a 5 round. So I'm just going to pop some water on my brush and just go very lightly into the permanent alizarin. Mix a little bit of that with the rose pink, just so it's not too loud. You can see it's a little bit watery there. And just to paint in a little bit of the centre, go in a little bit deeper using the very tip of the brush here, just the tip. And just put some strokes, some loose strokes in. Oh, not doing enough there. Let me just grab a bit more water on my brush here. So you can see it's not rocket science, and it's not something, you can see that it's starting to take a little bit of form. But just, you know, play with it and see how you go. I think anybody can actually paint and have it look something pretty. It doesn't have to look botanically correct. As I said, you know, this is a Shabby style rose, and I tend to fall for these colours because I think they just go really well together. And to add a little bit of what shall I say, depth to the flower, I'm going to go a little bit darker in a minute, but for now I'm just going to very lightly tip with a little bit of a runny, almost an inky consistency with the paint. Just pop it around. You can see the yellow's still coming through the back. I don't mind that because it's not really looking too out of place at the moment anyway. We'll see how it looks in the end. But you can see I'm just touching it very lightly, just going around with a little stroke. Now I'm going to go a little deeper into the centre, so I'm just going to add a little bit more. It's still a little bit wet, so the rose in the centre, I just want a little bit of a better form here, just to make it look like you're looking deep into the rose. You can see I'm just going very lightly around as I go to make it look like there's 100 petals or so inside there. The different tones of a similar colour will give it a little bit more form. You can see it's starting to look all right. Starting to look like a bit of a rose. Where are we? All right. So, you know, that looks okay on its own, I think. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you what adding a little tip of Payne's Grey can do to it. I'm just going to move my colours up here a bit, a little bit more of the permanent alizarin. See how it's almost like a purple colour. I'm going to add a touch of water to that. I'm going to go in boldly and see what happens. So right into the centre. And you probably think, oh no, she's going to muck it up. Well, maybe I will, maybe I won't. But you've got to try these things. You know, this is a little tutorial to help anybody who thinks that they could never pick up a paintbrush and do anything that's reasonable. Well, you can see how blooming easy it is. You know, you just got to give things a go and you'll love it. You'll love it. It's really easy to paint because this is, you know, your own style will come out in things. But you can see a child could paint what I've just painted here, just using those tiny little touches. You don't have to be an artist to be able to achieve something beautiful. And I'm just going to put some funky little leaves on that. So I'm going to use this brush. Sometimes I don't wash the paint out of the brush. I usually like to just wipe it a little bit on some towel and then just go in. I might put a bit more water on it because I want it a little bit more transparent. So you can see I'm going from the green and bringing it out so that I'm not just mashing into the green there. And because I've kept a bit of colour on my brush, it's really going to, I don't know if I'm out of whack there, it's just really going to tie in all the colours because you've got a little mix of that red still in the green there. So it's not going to look extremely bold and take away from the general aesthetic of the flower. So, yeah, I think I'm happy with that. What do you think? not too shabby. Yeah, well, that's the point. It is shabby. So I'm just reminding you that this is just an envelope I'm painting here, just so that whoever gets the next set of stickers in this envelope will get a pretty envelope that they might be able to use in their journals. So I'm just going to come out a little bit from this little area here and see how I've just put a couple of little strokes. You put a little bit of pressure on and then you lift it up to the point. I'm going to do some more here. So I've got a thicker petal. So I'm just going to go back to here and bring it back to the middle like that. It's almost folk arty. So we've got a little bit of a centre thing happening there. You can see the rose leaf is not absolutely green. I like that because if I had this olive green here, just plain without any tone of the pinks in it, it would just stand out and look too stark against the rose. So figure out where you want your petals. Don't be too well, you know, stressed out about it, because you want it to look like a rose, but you don't, you know, it's not going to be perfect because roses probably don't look like this altogether. And I'm just going to put a semblance of a leaf there, some more here. You can see how quickly I did that. Just press the brush down like that and lift it up as you go. Come back down. And you've got a centre into your leaf there. So press and lift. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just keep that in mind, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Roses and plants never just have 4 in nature. They usually come in sets of 3. Even numbers look terrible on any flower or leaf stem. It really should be 3s or 6s or 5s. Not so much 6s, but 5s. I'm just going to put a bit of colour in here just to pretend that we've got a leaf in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could go 7, but it might be too much on the envelope. I need somewhere to put the address there. So I might just put a couple of little strokes, a little tippy strokes like that, just sort of making it, you know, look a little bit more full. Okay, so what do you think about that? Just let me know, and I'm going to do a few of these today, so they'll probably get better as I go through the day. This is probably just a little bit dark around this section here, but yeah, I'm happy with that. It looks like a flower, so that's all I'm after, and I thought you might just, yeah, be interested in trying it. Let me know if you do try it. Subscribe to my channel if you feel like it. And I'm going to try and do some more videos soon. I think I've been a little bit slack lately, just working very hard as a nurse and not a lot of time due to COVID. And yeah, what I also do here, I might just show you what I do further. I generally like to put a little outline. I know that it's not realistic, but that's pretty much how I roll. So I'm just going to add some of the green just lightly on this very fine brush here. I'll pick up a little bit of that mix here and push that out of the way for a minute. So just come down the outside. It needs to be quite watery so that you can, you know, just can see what I'm doing, I hope. Just down the outside. Just so that whoever looks at this thinks, okay, yes, well, that's not a real rose and it's not really meant to look like a real rose because it's a shabby rose. Now, I don't know if that is such a thing, but it is for me. That's what I call my little shabby roses. Now, I do realistic painting, but I much prefer this because I'm, you know, the me society of having to have everything done now, and this is what this does. It actually gives you the opportunity to get something done really quite quickly. Just put a few extra little strokes in there. Now, if you're using a brush this small, you'll need to make it an inky consistency. If you're just using normal paint on it, you'll put your brush stroke down and you'll have blotches. But if you make it an inky consistency and hold your brush here, don't hold it too far down near the ferrule here, hold it here so that you've got more control over the brush. Take a deep breath, put your brush down and let it go. You'll find that if you breathe in and you have a little bit of a holding of your breath, you'll be able to do straight lines with a brush this fine. Anyway, it takes a little bit of practice, but yeah, so for what it's worth, that's my little envelope. It's going to go out with my next set of stickers. And obviously, if you buy some of my stickers or anything else that goes in any of my envelopes, you'll probably get a rose on yours too. I hope you've enjoyed this video and have a lovely, lovely day.